Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hello, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to Northtown News Magazine.
Welcome to Northtown News. I'm Marty Levinson.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet Hope, Chicago. 224, 446. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you want?
Hi there, I'm the real Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. Community Policing. Sonny, in his spare time, is chairman of the 24th District of the 24th District Advisory Committee of the Chicago Police Department. If you go to his website, caps24.org, you'll find all the various meeting times for the 24th District, which is West Rogers Park, and part of Edgewater. And at the website ntnm.org for the show, you'll find all our videos over the last 10 years. And somebody I've gotten to know over the last couple of elections. And, and I like to put the people on who work behind the scenes of the elections, because often they're the ones who really make things tick. Because so often candidates don't know what they're doing. And if they do know what they're doing and try to be their own campaign manager, it's sort of like, you don't want to be your own lawyer, you don't want to be your own doctor, you don't want to be your own campaign manager. Trust me on that one. And that is Republican activist Blair Garber. Blair, how you doing?
Good to see you.
First of all, my pleasure, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
And how did you get involved in politics in the first place?
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. I think my first iteration in politics was about 1994 when the Republicans won the House for the first time in God knows how many years. At least that was the first time that I was doing it voluntarily. When I went to Oakton Community College, I actually had a teacher there who press ganged the whole class into working for a candidate, Abner Mikva, as a matter of fact. So I was part of that campaign.
Actually, he was the first candidate I ever worked for, but that was not up north. That was in South Shore when he actually lost initially.
Right. I did it when he was running up here, so that was my introduction to the mechanics of campaigning. And then in 1994, I think I was interested in doing something, and I called up the Chicago GOP and I said I'd like to be a precinct captain, and they said, "You're it." So I was like, okay. So we went to the ward committeeman's meeting. When I'm sitting in the ward committeeman's meeting, and I'm realizing that I'm the only guy there who's not a city employee, which struck me as kind of odd at the time. And but I was willing to, give it a try and see what was happening. So at the end of the meeting, I asked these guys, where do I get my sheets for my voter list so I can identify voters and get them their materials and things like that. And they were like, "Kid, we're not doing that. We're going to go meet out here in the suburbs in the collar, and we're going to work for this guy, and on Saturday, and show up on Saturday, and that's what we're going to do." So I showed up. I did my job, and they said, did a good job. It was my first rodeo. And I said, okay, where do I get my materials for the guys in my precinct so I can identify voters? I lived in Old Town at the time. And they said, "Nope, kid, we're not going to do that. On next Saturday, you're going to meet at this place, and this guy out in the collar." And this happened about 3 times, and I thought to myself, there's something going on here. Now, some of these guys were Republican by temperament and voting and everything else. There's no question about that. But basically, they were showing up to help people in the suburbs because that's what City Hall was telling them to do. So that when those Republicans got elected in the suburbs, they, you would think the question became, who do they owe their who do they owe their loyalty to? And you would think it's the voters, the local voters that voted them in, but then maybe there's the part that they owe to Richie Daley and the Chicago machine that sent them 40 trained campaign workers over a weekend. So at best, there's some divided loyalties there.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember having an alderman tell me one time how the importance of the Republican committeeman
Yes.
to the aldermanic elections, because he gets to choose the election judges, and they used to make sure that they got the right person elected.
That's correct. That's correct. My first stint as an election judge was in Chicago. It was on LaSalle Street in a single-room occupancy hotel. And I was the Republican judge, and the other Republican judge was the son of the Democratic precinct captain. So, and this is before I was a precinct captain. So he's and the precinct captain, Democratic precinct captain, sat at the table with the judges, checked off names as people showed up to vote, and then and also closed the poll. Basically acted as the equipment manager and closed the poll, all of which is completely illegal. And took the, by the way, he took the then he took the ballots to downtown by himself, which is also illegal. So you're supposed to have one person from each party, and so that was my introduction to Chicago politics, and you learn a lot.
You do learn a lot. Having been, I was
steep learning curve. Yeah,
I was many times I was a poll watcher, and because I was tenacious about it, I'd usually be put on the toughest precinct captain. Yep. And I mean, I would call the cops, the state's attorney, and they go, "Hey Marv, how you doing? Everything okay?"
There was
I even the election judges. There were 5 election judges that particular election, and each one could say in more than one language that you can't vote, do not vote for this person because that's a vote for the blankety blank.
Well, there was one incident in this single room occupancy hotel that sticks in my mind because the police officer that was in that polling place was a guy I'd known since I was, 15 or 16 years old, since my family used to, has a jewelry business in the 18th district, and we hired off-duty policemen to be security for the business. So I knew this guy really well, and he's sitting in the corner of the polling place, and a guy comes in having voted, and walks right up to the table and says to the Democratic precinct captain, I voted, now where's my $15? Right? And the Democratic precinct captain jumps up, grabs the guy, whoa, and takes him outside, and I look over and the cop's sitting right there, and I'm like, and he looks at me and he goes like this, right? So afterwards, I went up to him and I said, you heard him, I heard him, we all heard him. What more does it take, right? And he said, don't you think I wish I could? He said, if I take that guy in, they're going to tear it up in the station, and I'm going to be counting penguins, in Antarctica. And I don't want to count penguins in Antarctica. I've only got 3 years before I retire.
He's not wrong.
So it's like, so that's that. So again, it's an education, coming from Chicago, and then
as a matter of fact, I was the only times I actually was a Project Leap election judge for a while, Because that's about the only way I could have any say in really doing anything honestly at the polling place.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you know, it's I was working the 46th ward when Bruce got elected. I was one of the sort of flying squad of troubleshooters they had.
Bruce
Rauner.
Oh, okay.
That Bruce.
Gotta ask. Okay.
And
Diane Shapiro's ward.
yeah, well, no, 46. That's like is Diane 46?
Yeah, Diane's the committeeman in 46.
Oh, okay. So I was one of the three sort of troubleshooters that they had, and we had great coverage. We had great coverage on the polls. Bruce spent a lot of money. I think he spent about $3 million actually making sure that they had poll watchers that were trained and paid for 1,000 polling places that they had deemed were the trouble spots. These are the ones that have 105% turnout. It's all for one candidate. That kind of thing. So the ones that you think when you look at the things that maybe there's something going on here that we need to watch, right? So actually, in that election, I think things went really well, and with that kind of attention focused on voter integrity and just keeping everybody on the up and up, it was a good election. The polls were run extremely well.
It does definitely
Makes
make a good difference.
Huge difference.
I know that from past experience, the amount of people that can vote when the poll watcher, goes to the washroom is unbelievable.
Yeah. You ask what the count is, and then you go to the bathroom and come back, and all of a sudden it's 100 voters.
And even though everything's
Not really,
electronic
100.
now, it's like
40.
just because we don't understand exactly how it is that people are cheating at the polls doesn't mean that there isn't some cheating at the polls.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's it's one of those things that you have to be ever vigilant about, because truly, one illegal vote basically disenfranchises all of the legitimate votes. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, I once had my office at one point in time was right across the street of the cemetery, and it was always fun to be there election eve and watch the voters rise out of their graves and get ready to vote the next morning.
The subtle ways we have of doing things here in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, no, and anybody, you know what, every time the Democrats complain about this being fixed or this being crooked, I went, well, yeah, look what city we're in.
Yeah. So so after that, I was volunteering for a couple of campaigns. I volunteered for Ari Friedman's campaign when he was running for Congress.
I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Terrific candidate, unbelievable resume, and it became a good friend of mine, as a matter
Speaking
of fact.
of helicopters, and which we were before the
That's
show.
right. Yep. Desert Storm vet, instructor pilot, naval aviator, has hundreds of, small deck landings, hundreds of small deck landings at night. It's just, he's really talented guy. And University of Chicago grad, so he went from Solomon Schechter to Highland Park High, University of Chicago, United States Navy, and then, naval aviator, and then first in his class, University of Illinois Medical School. And I think he's chief of pediatrics at Condell, which was the largest hospital in the district, and he owns, I believe, the largest pediatrics practice in the Midwest. So he's, father of 5, and the whole rest of the thing. And I mean,
He's a great guy all the way.
super guy.
Well, we're really out of time at this point, I hate to tell you.
Okay,
And no, I appreciate your coming on very much and sharing some election tales.
we'll have to do it again.
Definitely, you're more
Good
than
to see
invited
you.
back.
Thanks so much.
And if people would like to contact you,
Blair Garber at gmail.com. That's probably the best way to do it. And look
You're also
forward-
on Facebook.
Yes, I am also on Facebook. That's correct.
Okay, at this point, Mickey's hands are right there. I want to thank you very much and stay tuned, everybody, for segment 2.